First Amendment. But the overarching concern is that we don't have an infrastructure that can bear what we anticipate the result will be. And with that said, we do want to, as the borough president said, this is not about affordable housing. We've been strong advocates for it. In a prior administration, we strongly advocated for Hunters Point South and in other areas. It's very important, and we recognize that. But when it comes to this, it's fraught with danger for us. And our advocacy and our obligation is to the constituents of our district. So that came out, and the vote was, it was on MIH, I think it was 28 to 1 with a couple of extensions, and ZQA 28 to 2 with a couple of abstentions. So it was a clear mandate from our board to oppose both aspects of these tax amendments.
Thank you. Any other comments? Or Ward 14.
Ward 14, so we were probably one of the first that rezoned because of oversaturation of many city services in the city. So I live, I guess, what's considered on the west end of the peninsula. And the greatest voice from our board members were those on the east. And for me to get public transportation from the west to the east by subway, I would have to get on the train, leave the peninsula of Rockaway, go north, get off, transfer, and come back on a different train. So for me to drive 15 minutes to get to Community Board District Office would take me over an hour if I took the subway. And they want to take away our parking. But more importantly, one of our comments was the AMI. That, you know, affordable housing is a wonderful thing for a tremendous middle-class population. But some of this is masked that it's not going to be for the middle class. It's an AMI that's very low. And how would that impact? So we want an AMI of 60% or higher. Even though we voted unanimously against this, our suggestions are that you have to look at each neighborhood, each community board, and see what currently exists in those community boards. In Community Board 14, we have 6,000 nursing and adult home beds, 5,000 units of public housing, the highest Section 8 placement in the Borough of Queens. We've been strangled economically, and we have about 150 acres of open land, probably the largest in the city, and that's on the eastern end of the peninsula. And the homeowners on the eastern end are struggling to hold on because there's no place to shop, because there is not the economic base for businesses to come in. And they really are ready to flee if this goes through, because those 150 acres that live close to them will be the end of the eastern end of the peninsula. And I don't think anyone has as many nursing home beds as we do, and there is a little piece in this plan that says there's no longer the requirement of a special permit in saturated neighborhoods. If that's eliminated, you might as well just knock the bridges down, because nobody will want to live there if they can put unlimited number of nursing home beds. So let's hope that the city looks at it. It can't blanket, it can't be a blanket change. It has to be certainly at a minimum borough, but even further down as we did, and John was so wonderful, his group, in helping us zone to be accurate to the character of our communities. And we need to continue that for us to be the viable city that we are.
Thank you. Any other comments, Steve, on behalf of Ward 6?
Yeah, we voted against both. We voted against both proposals overwhelmingly. I don't have the head count with me. Queens's public transportation was made reference to earlier. We felt that trying to get more people on 71st Avenue Station during rush hour in the morning is a problem. Quite often you can't even get on a platform. And tonight, coming here, I got on at 71st Avenue, and the first express that went by me, I couldn't get on. and that was at 5 o'clock. So that was one issue, public transportation. With respect to inclusionary housing, we just felt that there are too many openings and too many back doors. One back door is, if you're gonna build, I think, less than 25 units, you can put money into a fund. We don't know who's gonna manage the fund, we don't know how the fund's gonna be invested, and we don't know who's gonna make decisions to cite affordable housing. It's just open, doesn't say how it's gonna be done. Another problem we found was, I don't have to build on the same site. I can build on an adjoining site as long as it's within half a mile. That half a mile could be in another council-managed district. That half a mile could be in another borough. So if I want to put up luxury housing, let's say, market rate housing in Williamsburg, I'll just look right across the creeks and cite my affordable housing in Queens. We felt that was a problem also. Also, number of things were made as of right that were never as of right before. And in some instances, for nursing homes and for long-term care facilities, R3s will lump through R10s for as-of-right development. And we just felt that that would make a field day for developers to come in and scarf up single-family homes and put up sliver structures. So, those are our comments.
I appreciate it from Ward 6, thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Steve Kalanick, Chairman of Queens Community Board 3. Our board shared all the concerns that my colleagues have around the table, especially with respect to ZQA and the parking. We just see a lot of problems with that. It just doesn't match our reality that is folks still a little bit old. It seems as though as folks still older, they're more reliant on their cars rather than less. And as was stated earlier, the subways are great if you're going to Manhattan, if you're going to Douglaston, not so much. Now our board is actually one of the boards that did in fact vote in favor of both of these. It was not an easy discussion. It was a very expedited process, as we are all aware. But we did vote in favor of it. I think our votes was 16 to 11 on both of them. But as my colleague from Board 2 said about not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, for many, many years, our capital priorities budget list has been affordable housing. And we see a moment when the city attempts to address it. So many on the board felt kind of strongly that we've asked for it, and while this is far from perfect, a lot of concerns about it, a lot of unknowns with it in terms of how it will really play out in reality. But ultimately, they thought it was a step towards affordable housing, especially for seniors. Again, it wasn't an easy conversation, it was by no means a unanimous conversation, but Board 3 voted in favor of both of them.
Okay. Anyone else? Chairs?
Hi, my name is Joseph Friesi, I'm from Board 1. Board 1 also voted in favor. We thought voting no would send the wrong message, quite honestly. Who would not embrace more diverse, livable buildings that contribute to the quality of the community? We thought that voting yes with stipulations attached to the yes would be the way to go. We presented the borough president and our councilman the stipulations that Board 1 had proposed, and we're recommending a yes, only subject and conditioned upon the stipulations that we provided.
I apologize for having to step out of the room, I had to feed my kids. They're here today and very excited about the public process. Any other comments? I would just like to make a comment or two if we can. This has been a very long process to make it to today. I think the city agencies have been extremely gracious with their time and energy in discussing this. I think the community boards have put in an enormous amount of work to get where we are today. I think there's a few issues that I've brought up as well with all of you at some point and with city planning. For the affordable housing amendment, I do think that it's an issue that Queens has rezoned almost all of its areas over the last 10, 20 years. And we've done a lot of rezonings to protect communities. And the work that went into those contextual rezonings were enormous. And public participation was just rampant, and that was a great thing. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience to go through each neighborhood by neighborhood. And I think that that's one of the discussions that keeps going back and forth with my office and city planning, which is the distinctions amongst our communities and whether this takes that into account. And I think many of you expressed that today. The parking issue is a real problem. It's bar none, probably one of the biggest problems with the contextual issues, with the ZQI. And so I do think, ZQA, I do think that we have time before the city council gets the vote on this to talk to the administration about this. I would hope that the administration acknowledges and fixes what I think is a real problem. Queens has only covered a third of its district by public transportation with subways. And to basically say anyone building affordable housing around those hubs doesn't have to put in parking requirements for it, I think is an enormous ask of the borough. Our subways are overcrowded, our buses are overcrowded. We can't seem to get folks, the agencies to increase that access. And, it's just problematic all around. And I think that's one of the biggest issues that hopefully we will deal with before all of this is finalized in the coming weeks with the city council. And I think that, having said that, any other comments? Council members? Council member Koslitz, would you like to say a few words, please? Chair of our delegation.
I just want to say that tonight, the council cannot vote on this proposal because we have to go through the process with the city council, and we'll be having many meetings in the next coming weeks. I expect it probably to go through the council sometime in January. So tonight, we have to abstain from voting.
Thank you to my community boards, just, we'll be behind you as always, but tonight we have to abstain. Thank you, Madam President.
Well, I came tonight really just to hear what the community boards had to say, and so it's been informative, and those concerns that have been raised will be taken into account as we move forward in this process.
Lori? So we are accepting two motions from the floor tonight. One is going to be for the MIH, which is the mandatory inclusionary zoning. One is going to be for the zoning for quality and affordability. I will take first the motions for the mandatory inclusionary housing.
I would propose we vote no against mandatory inclusionary housing. That's my vote.
Okay, and just to be clear, a no vote, this is going to be a motion to disapprove the amendments to the mandatory inclusionary housing. Can I do can I hand out the resolution now that we think have taken into account what the chairs have talked about and open it up for discussion? That's MIH. No, we just did. We're going to give everyone a few minutes. The last page is the recommendations that we feel encompass the basics of what we talked about here today and the last few months. It's been an ongoing discussion. If there are any changes, please let us know. This is by all means not a final document. It's just open for discussion. We are happy to amend it. Or take one.
Oh, there you go. Are you voting? Are you abstaining? We would like to welcome Councilmember Miller and Councilmember Wills as well. So, thank you. Again, the resolution you're reading is after months of discussion, and we hope it encompasses a bit of what you were talking about this evening as well. But if there is any question, we're happy to discuss it. Your community board recommendations still go to the City Planning Commission, clearly, and to the council members. Shall we move the motion?
Yes. So clarifying it, yes is disapproval.
We are making a motion to disapprove the amendment to the mandatory inclusionary housing. We have a motion for a yes vote for disapproval, and we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. The motion for disapproval is carried. With two, how many no votes? 2 no votes. Board 3 and Board 1. We now have the zoning for quality and affordability. I will take a motion from the floor. I know that. Christine.
Christine
Say-
from CB11. I will make a motion to disapprove.
Second.
So motion to disapprove by Board 11, sorry.